Let's see what we got here. We got Ahmad Mohammadi. He says, "Hey Rab, what do you think about Rabbi Al-Shlach's commentary on Zechariah 12:10? You gonna do
Well,
Zechariah tonight?"
I haven't read every commentary. I'm not big on commentaries. I'll tell you off the bat. You're gonna have Mikros Gadolos. Like, I'm not a fan. I think that everyone in this room
heard of Rabbi Al-Shlach, so I don't even know who that is.
He's a Kabbalist. I'm not a fan of commentaries. I don't think that only because someone who lived 1,000 years ago or 500 years ago says something on the Torah that makes it any more authoritative. Assuming you know the Hebrew as well as he does, why should you assume that someone 1,000 years ago knows the Hebrew better than you do, being that we have many different translations? Let's say like you don't know Hebrew at all, and you're just going by translations or your Jastrow dictionary. I don't believe in what's called Yeridat HaDorot, that only because you lived in an earlier time that makes you closer to God by definition. I think that people nowadays could definitely be, if they really wanted to, on a higher level than the Rambam and Rashi. You know how many opportunities we have to learn Torah nowadays? Back then, people didn't even have Sidurim. People had to memorize the whole liturgy before they went to synagogue, which is why the liturgy was so small. Now it's humongous. That's another reason, which proves that the Siddur we have today is not the same Siddur they had back then. Because who's going to memorize all the piyutim that exists during Rosh Hashanah? It was very short back then. Throughout the years, they basically combined every custom they could find into one book in order to sell you a bigger book and make more money. But back then, every big community, like maybe you had one set of the Talmud. Now you have thousands of hours of MP3. Only because someone writes a commentary back then, why should your insights be tossed in the garbage? I've heard all these guys online, oh, the commentary is like oral law. What else is like oral law? I mean, just keep adding stuff. Moby Dick, War and Peace. Just keep adding it. Atlas Shrugged. Stupid. Oral law deals with laws. Rashi's opinion is just as valuable as your opinion. They're only valuable to what they bring to the table, not some sort of tradition that they had nonsense. By a simple fact that you have many commentaries that contradict each other, it shows that no one really knows what that's trying to tell you. Well, overall, no one's debating on the ethics, and no one's debating how we keep Torah, even from a rabbinic perspective, because no one learns to keep halakha by studying Rashi. Whoever says that knows nothing about Judaism. You learn halakha by codification. Rashi's opinion, or the Rashbam's, or the Ibn Ezra's opinion of what the Chumash or Tanakh has to say, is not applicable one bit in your halachic walk, because they're not codifiers. They're not halachic rabbis. Now, yes, Rashi did comment on the Talmud. Again, when nobody extracts halakha from the Talmud anymore. We have codifications for that. So if you're studying the Ramban and Rashi in order to learn how to live Judaism, then you're wasting your time. Because all they're doing is trying to give you a different twist of the narrative that appears in the Bible. They're not telling you how to live Judaism. The Rashbam. So the Rashbam wrote the most Peshat-based commentary, literal commentary that Judaism has ever seen. And he even writes in its forward, in his Hakdamah, that this was Rashi's goal. Rashi wanted to give over a literal commentary. But then the Rashbam says that Rashi, his grandfather, told him that he failed. That instead, he gathered all the Midrashim. And that's what Rashi is. It's a paraphrased Midrashic interpretation. So the Rashbam said that he's going to succeed where his grandfather failed. And we have statements from the Rashbam saying, Totafot benenecha, having tefillin as a sign that literally, according to the Peshat, it doesn't mean tefillin. Even though the rabbis interpreted it like that and made a halacha that we have to put on tefillin, he says, no, this means that you should just keep the Torah in your heart and in your mind. So this shows that different commentators have different things to see on the Bible. So it shows that this clearly wasn't given on Mount Sinai, unless you believe that on Mount Sinai there was a gaggle of ideas given over by God that contradict each other constantly. The Torah has hardly no contradictions. I'm not going to say no contradictions at all, because the Torah has been transmitted through many printers and years. Your errors could have crept in. That's fine. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of studying the scripture with commentaries at all. Perhaps to get a different perspective, but not to say, aha, now I know what it means. That's silly.
Fair enough. We got actually an interesting question here. This is actually something I want to know. Teal asks out in the comments, Shalom Rav Asher Mazer. Is there a reason why I can find every type of kosher grape juice among the leading Goyish brands except for grape juice when not besides buying Kadim and others. So that's interesting. It's kind of hard to find kosher grape juice that is made by a non-Jewish brand.
I don't understand the question.
You can find orange juice, apple juice. It's all kosher. But when it comes to grape juice, it's sort of hard in between to find kosher grape juice.
Okay, well, it's a Torah prohibition. Grape juice has the same status as wine. Only in modern Hebrew is there a distinction, even in the language. It was not considered meats like a juice in rabbinic tradition. Grape juice has a status of wine. We're not allowed to drink grape juice or wine that's pressed or made by Gentiles. That's a Torah prohibition because of the fear of that it may have been used for libations.
Right. It'd be like asking, why is it so hard to find Purdue chicken kosher? Well, of course.
Chicken, beef.
Right.
Those are the major things. If someone, let's say, wanted to take it upon themselves to find out if a restaurant was kosher or not kosher, I guess if they found the restaurant and they chose just to eat a salad and eat a sandwich with cheese, assuming, all right, no cheese, because I have to explain that later, because cheese is also not as complicated as people make it seem. They could keep everything and still break kashrut by having a cup of Welch's grape juice. I believe Welch's nowadays may have a Circle K on it. Because I always felt that Welch's was kosher anyways because Gentile hands never touched the wine. It's all done by machines. But Kedem is the grape juice that's typically used nowadays.
I guess it's just that we're privileged today that everything really has a hechsher, which hechshers have only been around for, 30, 40 years. So.
All right. Well, I want to make sure that the rabbi knows that I won't be bringing up chicken and dairy anymore. I've done full teshuvah for it. I called in a few weeks ago with the same question. But I have more of a technical question now.
You don't have to do teshuvah for breaking rabbinic commands. So you just have to try harder next time. Regarding man-made laws, there's no pounding in your chest. There's no ne'ilah. But yeah, go ahead.